Hey guys, this is KSP with Tape, and today you join me for episode 33 of KSP Road to Exploration, and we need to make our very hefty maneuver with the Buzzard 2, that kind of faulty Moho spacecraft I designed a while ago. It's not really faulty, it's just these arc jet thrusters require a lot of electricity, but now that, because I'm heading to Moho, I'm much closer to the sun, I can use all 4 thrusters at full power now, so they're actually really effective for what I'm actually planning on doing. Anyway, yeah, so the flight computer's being kind of a dick, so I was getting very confused and worried. But yeah, after a quick test burn and such, and making sure I will actually encounter Moho, I decide to fire up, well, get closer to it and fire up the engines after tweaking it so I actually hit Moho. Well, not hit Moho, but get pretty close. And then, well, the idea for this was originally it was going to be a lander, but because it took so long to do the burn and I had to do such a big burn to push myself onto a trajectory because Moho had moved around its orbit because it took me so long to do various things that I screwed this all up and wasted like thousands of meters per second of delta V. We're just hoping to orbit and at least send some science home from the space round so we can just about pay for this, because we have a rather large expenditure coming up, and that was kind of riding on this mission going well, because this is going to pay off a lot of money if it goes well. But yeah, anyway, so we're just going to use these arc jet thrusters on full thrust, and they're doing rather well, and it's quite nice actually using these on full thrust. I'm glad I brought 4 now, because that provides me a lot more a lot more flexibility down near Moho, but up near Kerbal, the sun was obviously far less bright because it's far away, so the photovoltaics weren't working so well, so I couldn't use these thrusters on full power, and I definitely won't ever be using them for something like a dual mission, because that just gets further away from the sun. But yes, I do have a dual window coming up, and yeah, this is all going to be a bit of a haze, because I've got to get like a load of money to unlock the Science Center, which I already have, but I've also got to get some money for after that for launching things to make money again and going to Jewel and Duna. So yeah, I'm pretty, by the end of this episode, I'm pretty scared for money. But anyway, yes, this is all going rather well though. We're well, burning through our fuel quite quickly, but we're also burning through the maneuver quite quickly, so it's all going well, and we should have just enough fuel to get into orbit of Moho. Ish, probably, maybe. But yeah, let's hope that all goes well. So yeah, just finishing off the burn here. Quite a long burn, even at 4 times time accelerator, because it was like 3,000 meters a second. And that is the reason I don't have enough fuel to land. But yes, it's actually pretty close. I need to do a slight correction so it's closer to closer to the surface of Moho, so I can take as much effect from the O-berth effect as possible. And you may, if you don't remember the episode where I launched this, you may be wondering why there's some kind of wings on the spacecraft. Those are acting as landing legs, because they're lighter than the lightest landing legs. But yes, it looks like I do have enough delta V to get into an elliptical orbit. So yeah, anyway, we will come back to that when this episode, when it arrives. But what we've got to do now is land this spacecraft on Minmus. Last episode it got here just as we had to go and do the thing with Moho, with the Moho probe. So today we're going to land it. So we're just going to drop our tank in orbit here and then go and land and grab a bunch of science and get quite a bit of money for, I think just a bit of money for planting a flag. I think that's all I'm being paid for, but that's still quite a lot. That's like almost 100 grand, so, and with the advance, it's quite a lot of money. So I do like to do these planting flag missions. They also allow me a chance to get a lot of science, which is important because I need to unlock some new antennas for going to Jewel. That's why I need the new science center right now. So yeah, this is apparently the Midlands, but I've apparently not landed on the Midlands before, so that's good. I've taken a crew report from above, EVA report from above it. But yeah, I'm getting all of this science, max values, that's all good. Seismic reports and temperature scans and all the like. I'm just going to grab myself surf sample and various things and plant a flag, which mysteriously explodes in a bit, and just say Midlands landing. But yes, we've got 87,000 just then, which will be nice. It'll be a nice addition. It'll allow us a launch after we've spent all of our money on the new science center. Yeah, I probably should have thought this through a little more before I did it. But anyway, yes, let's get in here. But there's a slope right next to me, and I don't think I've done all of the science from the slope, so I'm going to jump over onto this slope and try and get some science. Problem with landing on slopes is it's kind of slopey, and also the friction for like landing legs and stuff is totally broken in 1.1.2. I think that's the version it's running in. I hope they update. There is a new version of KSP, the 1.1.3, but I haven't tried that out yet. But anyway, yes, just grabbing a little more science, and yeah, we get quite a bit of good science. But while it's sliding, I'm just going to jump out and grab some reports. But apparently I've already taken a surface sample or an EVA report from the ground, so yeah, that's probably, I just probably flew over there one time in a mission a while ago. But yes, we better take off before we slide to the bottom of this slope, which means we're taking off at a pretty bad time. But it's fine, because we'll come in behind the the probe, so we can just go into a slightly lower orbit and meet it, so we don't have to waste any fuel. But yeah, I'm just going to grab all of the science out in orbit. Much easier to do it while floating weightless in orbit. Yeah, I'm still blown away by the amount of people who seem to think that there's no gravity in space. It's just like, what? Well, I guess it's probably not super obvious why things are weightless, unless you've ever been on a tall ride or a plane. But yeah, anyway, so here we are, just rendezvousing with the fuel tank, the Red Origin 3 probe. This spacecraft has probably provided the majority of my money over the last year, really, just going to the surface and taking tourist places. But yes, we just need to dock onto preferably the top docking port, because then I'm not pushing on the probe core. I don't want this to flex too much, and it doesn't. It's a pretty solid spacecraft, and it has a pretty low thrust-to-weight ratio when it's got the transfer tank attached. So yeah, anyway, now we need to go home, but I think we'll have a launch in between while we're deorbiting, basically, and I'll send up probably a craft to bring back the science, because that's quite important. And probably bring Jeb back. He spent a while in space. Not as long as Bill, I think, who's the scientist. We need to replace him on the station. He's been up in space for too long. He's probably going space crazy. And he's been in the lab the whole time. Maybe just enjoying himself. But yes, we have a very busy launch schedule. And what am I doing here? I guess I'm upgrading the research and development facility. Oh god, it's so much money, but we upgrade it. We have 120 grand left, which allows me maybe 3 launches or 2 if they're relatively expensive. And I am just looking at these things I want to research. I'm trying to pick out what antenna I want, because there's 2 antennas I can get. There's this dish antenna, which when interfering will be quite like low profile. But there's also the giant foldable antenna, which is lighter. And has a slightly longer range. So I'm thinking, yeah, this one. It unfolds. So I'm thinking that might be probably best for Joule and Elu, because I'm going to be more worried about mass, really, while going there. But yeah, there's also this one I was looking at. It has a slightly lower range and things. And this the bigger one also requires a little more electric charge and things. But yeah, I think I'm going to go for that. But I don't have the science right now. I was just taking a quick gander. But yes, we desperately need some money now, so I'm bringing this fueling spacecraft back as quickly as possible, because it's worth about 10 grand, so 10 grand's pretty good when you've only got 120 grand in the bank. But yes, anyway, that is a good investment. It's just a lot of money, and we're just going to land this in the ocean. Nice and gently, it lands perfectly on 3 parachutes, which is nice. And now we need to send up the Ares 1, which will go and fetch the science when the Red Origin gets to the station. Yes, hopefully this goes well, because, well, we don't have a lot of money for launches. Yeah, I'm not going to fire that abort system for any reason. But yes, we also have 2 tourists in the cockpit, because they want to go to Minmus, and I am obliging, because I need money. And I like doing the tourism missions. It just means you can go and do science quite easily. But yeah, no, we will be fine for money. There's lots of missions I'll be doing. And if Moho goes all well, we'll be absolutely fine. But obviously, it's quite hard to get into orbit around Moho, and a lot of the money relies on getting into orbit, I think. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yes, let's deploy the solar panels and push myself onto a trajectory that will meet the space station. And then we will go and land that booster, because thank God we have reusable rockets there. I can't imagine it's possible to successfully play hard mode without reusable rockets. But yes, here we are, just touching this booster down. Apparently I didn't hit record maneuvering into the station, but here we are docked to the station. But you've seen that enough times. But anyway, so I brought up some fun things in here. There's a bunch of cool stuff. There's a guitar, some beers, some tacos, a stereo, and this little stake that I'm going to take to the moon so I can practice building spacecraft. But yes, you can actually grab this guitar. It's part of Kerbal inventory system. They could bring you some cool stuff. That doesn't make any sound, but yeah. But I grab all this stuff, and I've got a beer in space, a space beer, and you can actually drink these. It doesn't do anything, but yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I thought I'd bring them up to keep the Kerbals happy. Probably not the best allocation of funds right now, but yeah, Jeb drinks a lot of the beers. But anyway, so when I equip this boombox, I can hit play, and there's actually music. Yes, the sound is on for once, because usually I'm watching something while doing this, but I wanted to show you the music. It actually plays music. I might take one of these out to the moon for those lonely days of working. Don't know how we're hearing it in space, but I'm sure he would through his gloves or something. Anyway, that's all pretty cool. I love those little EVA items. But anyway, time to bring back the science aboard the Red Origin spacecraft. Also on the Ares one was an extra life support canister that I can put on this, so 2 Kerbals can go to Minmus without having to stop at the Ceres station to refuel life support. But yes, now we're on the right plane to hit the station. Well, hopefully not hit the station. Hit the station very gently with our docking port. We're just going to do a quick, a quick retrograde burn so that we meet the station and at a reasonable velocity. And you can see the purple marker zipping around right now, just so that we're going to get a close encounter. And I'm actually going to go with this one over here. We're going to be 900 meters away. I'm going to have a pretty serious slowdown maneuver, but I'll just do my careful maneuver in and make sure that we arrive at the station relatively slowly, hopefully, so that we don't, smash through one of the labs or something. Yeah, I kind of am hoping at some point, obviously when I'm not in dire need of money, that something hits the station and I get to do a gravity scenario. But now I've said that, you'll probably think that I rigged it. But I wouldn't just kill Kerbals. Have you seen collaborative warfare, Peter? But anyway, yes, let's just slow ourselves down. And we've got a pretty low relative velocity now. That all went well, and we're going to meet the station here, and then just keep tweaking it, keep getting the retrograde marker over the anti-target marker so that I move in nice and close and can dock to the station and send the science on its way. It'll be rather glorious, I hope. Get some new antennas and have a bunch of science left over, maybe for wheels, so I can finally send my moon rover out to the moon so we can really utilize the moon base, because I want to be driving around the moon to go to different biomes. And I've got a really cool moon rover idea in mind. It's like a long endurance one. It's could do some serious expeditions if I've got enough patience, and if the wheel physics have been fixed as much as I've been led to believe. But anyway, yes, he will just dock onto the standard docking port next to this fuel tank. And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm just going to transmit that science back as well. I've got 60 in that lab. I've had a lot of science back from that lab. I've just probably a few hundred. Anyway, so we have something we want to attach to that Red Origin spacecraft. So I'm going to have to go and fetch a spanner. Yes, it's more life support, because currently it only has enough life support to take 1 Kerbal to Minmus and back. And the first thing I'm going to do is take off this one I put on last time, which was actually an oxygen container, which is not great because we want all of the things so that we can eat, drink, and breathe. So yes, we'll throw that on there. And we'll have lots of long expeditions without having to dock to the station, which will be nice. And then I guess just take all of that science, make sure there's no more science in here, and just put that in the areas so that when it goes home, it will take home the bounty of science, and then just store my tool back up in here, and head on back to one of these habitation modules so that we can sit down and have a bit of a rest after all that EVA maneuvers. Anyway, so here we are just bringing back... we're actually bringing back the second stage that launched the Ares. Forgot to do that. Must do that because, it's worth quite a lot of money. So yeah, we're going to bring that back, land it in the ocean, and here it is just flying back in a ball of fire, annoyingly tilted, risking the... I don't know why it does that. But yeah, anyway, it touches down on the ocean fine. Nothing exploded, so that's all good. And yeah... talking of bringing things back, after resupplying the monopropellant on the space station, which these Ares 1 spacecraft tend to do, it's going to head on home. It's just got Jeb in the cockpit. He's needed back on Kerbin for his piloting expertise. And here we are just flying over the KSC, and we'll also get a significant amount of money back for the capsule. I think they're worth about 10 grand. So yes, there we go. We'll grab that, and we'll get the science. 547, not bad. Now I have 1,000 science, more than enough to get my antenna and maybe something else fun or useful. And yeah, we got a little money back, get our Jeb back, and you can see we've got 165 grand up at the top. That's, yeah, it's not a lot of money. But yeah, I did take on another mission, so I got a 40 grand advance so that we had a little more money, because before I only had 120 grand. Anyway, so after a little more deciding and deliberating, I decided to get this. But it's also 40 grand just to unlock that antenna. So yeah, it's also actually more expensive. It's a very expensive antenna. I didn't take that into account. You have to pay about 10 grand for one of them, whereas the other one would have been about 5. So our dual mission is going to be more expensive, but it's going to be better and it's going to work. And it's going to be a great dual mission. But anyway, we have to launch something else right now. We're about to get to Moho, and I am having none of this patchy communication shit. So in here we've got a couple of long-range communication satellites. I have managed to just about squeeze this into the budget. It's been a long time since I've had to really think about the budget, and it's actually kind of nice. But yes, launching aboard an Ares 1, our smallest of rockets, which is nice. Lots of Ares 1 launches coming up because it's cheap. Yeah, but they're all pretty cheap because, you know, they're reusable. Anyway, so we'll ditch that and head on up into orbit. I think because it's such a light payload, I'm going to be able to get all the way into orbit before I bring that booster back, so that'll be nice. And yes, these will be deployed into 250-kilometer orbits on opposite sides of Kerbal so that they will provide long-range communications. Because right now we only have like the ground station and my ground comm probe, which is at the ground station. So yeah. Anyway, these also have a little bit of fuel on them, a little bit of monitor propellant, so they'll be able to maneuver. And you'll see that the dishes are on the side. Oh, and here we are, just bringing back the first stage. Yes. Always just leaving the landing so that you can see how well I'm doing at reusing rockets. But yes, they have you can't like attach things onto the top of an antenna, so I had to put them on the side. So we're going to boost ourselves into a 250. Well, we're going to put our Pariaps at 250 kilometers, and then the satellites will maneuver themselves in because that way they'll be on opposite sides of Kerbal when I've waited a little while. So yeah, we're just going to head on up there and deploy these. I'm quite happy with how these turned out. They actually look quite good. But obviously the thrust will be quite offset because the antenna's on one side. But luckily the RCS can just burn kind of sideways and use that as forward thrust. And it isn't too much offset. So you can see that I can just burn prograde by doing this. Oh, well, yeah, this kind of thing. And that's actually, yeah, it's pretty good. It's slightly less efficient because there's a bit of a cosine loss there. But I don't mind too much because they've got more than enough fuel and they get nicely into orbit. And yeah, they should remain forever. And they've also got the omnidirectional antenna for communicating with things around Kerbal that will then relay the signal that they get from well, from the various interplanetary spacecraft. It did just occur to me that I'll have to put up a bunch more of these, well, a couple more of these for communicating out to Joule, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but that won't be for a while, because the Joule spacecraft, when I eventually launch my Joule probe, it won't be out of range for a while, so it's fine. But yes, that is all rather nice, and I'm just going to have that pointed at active vessel. And yeah, after a little bit of waiting, we get ourselves into the correct position to deploy this one. And just gonna put it into its orbit, which takes a little while with RCS, but it's fine. Yeah, I had to do a couple of orbits to get it into the correct place. But anyway, after a while, it does indeed get into its correct orbit. You can see here it's actually slightly skew-iff, but I don't mind too much because they're in relatively low orbits. And then it's just after we've done that, we're just gonna have to bring back the second stage, of course, because we are reusing every single freaking rocket. Lucky my rockets are reusable, or I would have been royally screwed. As I've said, I just don't think it's possible to do a hard mode without reusable rockets. Anyway, yeah, we do a pretty serious slowdown with the fuel, so we get as much money back for this as possible. So when we were flying over the KSC, I just slowed down quite a lot, and here we are, just touching down nicely. On the, well, we haven't touched down yet, but yes, these pretty much have to touch down on the ocean, because whenever I touch a second stage down on the ground, it kind of loses its engine. But anyway, for the final part of the video, here we are, bound for Moho. Our lovely Buzzard 2 spacecraft will sadly not be able to take up its main role. But anyway, after a lot of thinking, and I actually did run this through a couple of times to figure out where the signal delays were, because there are actually a couple of bits where there is a 2-minute signal drop quite near Moho. But anyway, we're completing our first mission, sending back some data, so we did get about 90 grand from this mission already by sending some data back to Kerbal, so it has paid for itself. But we need to get into orbit, and the only way of doing this, really, is to do most of the slowdown with the arc jet thrusters here, so that we get into a reasonable orbit, and then do the rest of it with the landing engine here. But what I didn't realize, because I was hovering over the wrong marker, is that trajectory actually has me hit the ground, and I only realized it while doing the burn. And I've got the flight computer to do both of the burns, because I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to lose my communications, and I did run it through a couple of times trying to figure out if I could do it all in one, but the flight computer isn't particularly advanced. Either that or I don't quite get it. But anyway, yes, hopefully this will go well. We have just enough Delta V to do this. Literally to the meter per second. And I'm actually having to burn slightly off-center to keep myself from hitting the surface of Moho, which also means I'll get slightly less effect from the O-berth effect, so it's not looking good. We might actually end up flying past Moho. We have sent back 90 grand's worth of science, but there would have been a lot more money for, there would have been about 200 grand for getting into orbit of Moho from the world first and the mission I have to do so, and there's also some temperature scans I could have taken which would have given me about 300 grand, and I can tell you right now, we are not going to get them. So yes, we are very strapped for cash, but that's okay. We do have the money to send our Duna probe, which also has a lander, and our Joule probe, which I'm going to leave until next episode. You will see them both next episode, but there's some cool stuff on the Joule probe which I want to keep you suspense about, and we will have enough money to continue our space program. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this right now, where I'm actually having to think, okay, how do I do this money? But anyway, yes, I do, we might as well watch the rest of this, even though we know how it's going to go. And we are just, oh, fuck! Oh no, that wouldn't have worked. I was thinking maybe if I dropped the top bit, because that does detach, because that's a satellite, then I could have burned, but then obviously... Oh no, that totally would have worked. I hate myself. I just realised if I dropped the top bit, that would have done... The top bit's a satellite, and I could have got the lander into orbit by itself. Oh, that's depressing. That is so depressing. But yes, you can see I'm having lots of trouble holding aftershoot as well, because it takes 60 seconds to turn SAS off because we're so far away to send the command. But yeah, I could have done this. Oh god, I hate myself. If I just dropped the antenna, then I could have communicated with it. It may not have worked, but it would have been a better option. I didn't think of that. I didn't Mark Watney enough. I didn't channel my inner Mark Watney. But anyway, yeah, so this has failed. It has performed one of its missions, but it is just another flyby, and it returned no science. So that is sucky. Yeah, that really sucks. But yeah, you see, we got very little science. So yeah, we will be going forth with a mission to Joule and a mission to Duna, and we will, in about 100 days, be doing another mission to Moho, where I will land, and I will get all of that, because I will defeat Moho! But yes, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're not too worried about the cash problems. Yes, up at night, like, oh god, Tape has no cash in the game. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll come back for next episode, where we will be launching to Duna and Joule. Duna and Joule got the first... Anyway, shut up. Yeah, I'll see you next time.